Hello, YouTube. It is July 21st, 2020. I felt like talking a little bit about the rapture, which is something the Bible predicts. And it says that people who are close to God will go to be with Him, and then after that comes the tribulation, which is a miserable, miserable time on the earth. Worse than now. One of the things that occurred to me today about the rapture is that in some ways it's kind of sad, even for people who won't be here. I mean, for people who make it, because there's a lot of things that are really good, that are getting really good right now. And just when they got good, we have to leave. Life used to be pretty crude when I was a kid. I'm not totally ancient, but I'm pretty old. I can tell you this, when I was a kid, as far as I can recall, there was no such thing as a plastic garbage bag. People just took their garbage in paper bags from grocery stores, which didn't have paper bags. They didn't have plastic bags. Those little, they call them t-shirt bags, those little plastic bags that are so great that people who have no idea what they're doing are banning all over the world. Those things were wonderful, but when I was a kid, they didn't have them, and they didn't have hefty bags. And you had to put your garbage in a grocery bag and leave it out, and it stunk and it caused problems, and it would break when you tried to carry it because you always tried to put too much stuff in it. So that kind of shows you how primitive life was not that long ago. I really hate the t-shirt bag bans. I live in a place where you can get all of them you want. And so I'm just bathing in t-shirt bags. I used to live in Coral Gables, Florida. You can't get a straw, you can't get a garbage bag. You can't get fast food in convenient containers. It's ridiculous. It's like we're just going back to the Stone Age. And why? Because we're afraid the plastic is going to hurt sea turtles or something like that. I mean, never mind that the United States doesn't dump its garbage in the ocean. They do that in places like China and Africa. But we're holding ourselves accountable as though we had some involvement with it. It's a lot like gun control. Somebody down the street kills his neighbor, so the police come and they get your AR-15. And then the guy who killed your neighbor comes and kills you because judges don't want to put anybody in jail. Anyway, there's a lot of things that have really kind of started to be, there's a lot of really neat things that have happened over the last 30 or 40 years. And it's kind of a shame that people would have to go just when things start to work so well. I'll just start with one that people don't think about too much, I guess. Shoes are so much better now than they used to be. When I was a kid, shoes, they tended to rot. I mean, if you had leather shoes, I'm not talking about ordinary dress shoes and things like that. They haven't gotten any better. They're exactly like they were, in 1940, except now they're made in China. But I'm talking about things like athletic shoes and work boots and stuff like that. Athletic shoes were horrible. They were basically boots, and they were heavy and stiff. They didn't breathe. They smelled more than they smell now. They just weren't that great. And then sometime when I guess I was in high school, people started wearing Nike waffle trainers. And what a waffle trainer was basically a modern running shoe. It had this sole on the bottom of it, which I guess if you stepped in waffle batter, it would leave something that looks like a waffle. They were blue and they had a yellow Nike swoosh on the side. I remember I got in an argument when I was in college, and I was telling people that people, they're saying, "Oh, it's Nike," and I said, "It can't be Nike. It has to be Nike for victory," which is the Greek word for victory. And some guy who was a runner said, "No, they put ads in Runner's World magazine saying it's Nike." And then, 20 years later, they started putting their name in commercials and proved him totally wrong. I don't know why he would lie about that. Wherever you are, Mark, you were wrong, and I was right. Anyway, that's the first really neat running shoe that I remember. And everybody was really excited about it because before that, they weighed like 5 pounds each. So I don't know if you remember, but there was a time when there were no running shoes. You just ran in whatever you had. And once running shoes came in, it became acceptable to wear running shoes everywhere, which I pretty much did for a long, long time, because they were so light and comfortable. And now even things like boots and tennis shoes and things, they're basically running shoes. I mean, they got the same stuff inside them. similar shape to them and so forth. They're made with a lot of the same materials. So it's really a neat time to be alive if you like good foot gear. Is foot gear a word? Yeah, it is. I think it is. You can get shoes now that are waterproof, that are comfortable, that are much lighter than they used to be. They don't rot and stink the way they used to as much. I mean, if you want shoes that rot and stink, get Timberlands. They're very low quality compared to a lot of the stuff that's available now. It's really a shame that people think Timberlands are fashionable, that they should be wearing Timberlands, and that's a great boot to have, because they're just not good at all. They stink and they fall apart. A good brand of boot is Danner, D-A-N-N-E-R. That's a great boot. Anyway, they make them with Gore-Tex liners. You can get them insulated. They last forever. They're just great. They're wonderful. Low maintenance. So it's kind of sad that we're leaving the earth. Those of us who are leaving. And I'm not saying, when I say those of us, I'm not saying I'm guaranteeing that I'm leaving. I hope I am. But anyway, those human beings are leaving. It's kind of sad that they didn't get more time on the earth with decent shoes before they left. Another interesting thing, I got notes this time. Another interesting thing is you can buy absolutely anything now. There was a time where if you wanted to buy something, you go downtown, and if you lived out in the country, you'd have to drive to town, which might take 2 hours. And then if they didn't have what you wanted at the store, you were just out of luck. That was it. You weren't getting it. I mean, there were some things you could order, and then they would come in 2 weeks, and they'd probably be broken or the wrong size, and you have to send them back. And it was expensive. But you know what it's like now. I mean, now you can just get anything, and there's so many options out there. It's hard to pick anything. There's not just products out there, but there are reviews, which a lot of them are fake. Let's not lie. There are probably review farms in China, because almost everything on Amazon is Chinese now. You look for brands you've seen before, like, I don't know, Mattel or General Electric or something, and you'll see some weird long totally capitalized name that sort of looks like an English word but doesn't make any sense, like Wee Wahoo shoehorns or toasters or whatever. And you think some guy in China who didn't do all that well in his English lessons got a job, and he told whoever made this thing, he said, "Oh yeah, I know all about how Americans think. I'll make up great names for your product." So Wee Wahoo tongue depressors. Anyway, there's any product you buy, you're likely to find a lot of reviews, and you don't want to buy anything that only has 4 stars, because come on, I mean, there could be something out with 5 stars. At least you get hope for 4.5, right? You don't want the 3-star stuff in your house. You don't want people to see that, because they can get on their phone and find out, that it's only got 3 stars. So you get something that I call, and I bet other people call it this too, I call it review paralysis. Because you'll be sitting there going, I just don't know about these paper clips, 3.5 stars. I just don't know. There could be something better. But if you go to Office Depot to buy paper clips, whatever they got, you take. So it's interesting the way it works. But it's not just ordinary stuff you can get. Well, I got most of my machine tools on the internet. In fact, all of them, I think. Yeah, all of them. Buying a machine tool 30 years ago was a nightmare. It's not like it's a breeze now, but actually it is sometimes. I mean, you can go to Amazon right now and say, here's $7,000, send me a milling machine, and bang, it shows up. But just to give you an idea of the kind of things you can buy, you could buy a live cobra. Interested in that? There's a website called kingsnake.com, and it doesn't seem to have as many things on it as it used to in the past. Don't ask. I didn't go around buying snakes from kingsnake.com. When I was young, I was interested in snakes and lizards and stuff like that. But as an adult, when the internet was functioning and all that, I didn't do this. I didn't actually want to buy lizards and snakes, but I looked at the website anyway because it was interesting. Well, at kingsnake.com right now, if you hurry, you can get monocled cobras. And a monocled cobra is a variety of, unless things have changed since I read about snakes when I was 8. One thing has changed: the species is different. It used to be a certain species name, and now it's a different one. Anyway, a monocled cobra is the common cobra that they have in India, except instead of having ordinarily they have a cobra called the spectacled cobra, and it's got this V-shaped thing on its back, and there's a little round thing on top of each of the branches of the V, and that's a spectacled cobra. But once in a while, one will be born. It'll have like this oval thing with one big empty place in the middle, and that's a monocled cobra. So some guy is selling monocled cobras. It says 2020 male Sufan, I don't know what that means, monocled cobras, Naja cauthia, that's a species name. The common cobra used to be Naja. I used to be proud that I knew stuff like that, but now I'm so far behind. I mean, are we still Homo sapiens? Or are we Homo something else? The dog now is no longer Canis familiaris. I think it's Canis lupus. I think it's the wolf now. So you try to answer that at if you're playing Trivial Pursuit, you'll get it wrong now. Anyway, a simple recessive trait, and they're $375, but the catch is you got to pick them up in person. So if you want your cobras shipped, that's let's see, $495. Now I don't know if that includes taxes. I'm just telling you what it says. And there's another ad if you like copperheads. A copperhead's a snake that we have in the South, and it's like a rattlesnake, only not as bad. But the problem with it is it doesn't make any noise. So rattlesnake's actually better because you have some chance of hearing it and running away. Well, the same guy, he has genetic striped copperheads. A lot of people who breed snakes, apparently, this is something that wasn't true when I was young and I thought snakes were cool. Back then, you just bought a snake and it looked like it did in the book, in the book on Africa or whatever. There was a guy named Raymond Ditmars who used to write really neat books on snakes, and I used to buy them all. There's a guy named Clifford Pope. I still remember this garbage. Anyway, if you bought a snake back then or caught one, it looked exactly like it did in the book. And now, because they're so inbred, because people are too lazy to catch snakes, I guess, or because they don't import them as often as they used to, you get all these weird snakes that have strange patterns on them. So some guy has copperheads that are striped. And if you're wondering, $720 shipped, but if you go and pick it up in person, it's only $600. And then you got a copperhead. Think how great that would be to have a poisonous animal in your house that's a born escape artist, makes no sound before it attacks, and makes your flesh rot off in chunks and can't be tamed. At least I wouldn't try. So maybe poisonous snakes aren't your thing. You can have an anaconda. There's two different kinds of anacondas. Now, for all I know, there's 10 different kinds. I think there may be a third one, but there's two that I know about. And one is the yellow anaconda, which is the off-brand. It's the one you don't really want. And then there's the green anaconda, which is the one that tried to eat Jennifer Lopez in the movie, which I can't believe people paid to see that movie. That's such a stupid movie. But anyway, that's the big one. And they don't really get to be 50 feet long, and they don't fly and all that stuff. This guy, he looks like he's pretty honest, the guy who's selling them. He says, unrelated. See, they know about this inbreeding problem. It says, unrelated, pure Eunectes notius. Eunectes notius means yellow anaconda. I don't know. I'm not saying that those words mean that. I'm not translating. I'm just saying that's what it's called. So it says CBB 2019. I don't know what CBB is. Gorgeous, 100% healthy, hardy, ravenous eaters with typical anaconda attitude, which I think means they bite. They're supposed to be pretty nasty. I feel bad, he says. I don't know why he's bothering us with that, but I got two unrelated pairs because I had every intention in breeding them, but I have way too many other projects. Well, you're not doing the work. You just put them in a box. How hard can it be? I mean, they do all, well, my loss, he says. Okay, if you want two of these things, an unrelated pair, not an inbred pair like, you might expect to find, if the British Royals were snakes. $1,065, and that's shipped. You don't even have to go and get this thing. I think I got a little confused there. I was going to tell you why this guy was honest because he has another ad. I'll explain that. He's got another ad for the big ones. If you want a green anaconda, Eunectes murinus. Make sure you check the Linnean classification, the nomenclature. We have a few stunning. These are stunning. Okay, these aren't your usual ordinary green anacondas. For sale at ultra low pricing. These magnificent snakes are some of the most sought after in the world. I know I'm seeking after them. Built like a tank, there are very few snakes as impressive as the anaconda. But here's where he goes honest and kind of hurts his own sales pitch. They can reach lengths of up to 17 feet. Well, geez, that's like an Indian python. Or when I was a kid, the python they now call Burmese that's eaten in Florida, they said that was actually the dark phase of the Indian python. So I always think Indian python. But now you say Indian python and people laugh at you. So Burmese pythons get to be 17 feet long. So why would you want an anaconda? What happened? It used to be the biggest snake in the world before people actually started measuring, I guess. Well, anyway, it says here they can weigh upwards of 200 pounds, because that's what you want, is a big dangerous pet it's really too hard to carry by yourself. You have to get a cart. California sales only. I don't know what difference it makes. When you buy a snake from us, you automatically receive our 100% live arrival guarantee. Now, you know, I'm a lawyer and I can kind of see the wiggle room there. Okay, it's alive, but what if it's on its last legs? I mean, it doesn't have legs, but you know what I'm saying. So that's pretty clever, saying it's alive. Oh yeah, it's breathing. You know, it may have some horrible disease. Snakes get diseases. They get this thing where their teeth and their gums rot, and it eventually kills them. We call it mouth rot. Oh, let's see. You may not want a snake, because snakes are kind of that's getting kind of old. A lot of people have snakes. What if you feel like you'd rather have a crocodile, a giant crocodile from a man-eating species? You can get it on the internet. We have 1.1 adult Nile crocs, male. I would hate to be the guy who checked. Around 10 feet plus female 8 to 9 feet. Perfect health and missing. This is the part that tells you this guy is a good salesman. Missing no body parts. So apparently they also have some factory seconds around that didn't get along with the others. They were hatched and raised at our facility, i.e. his mom's house. 15 years old, very yellow in color. I guess yellow ones are sought after. Asking $7K or best offer. And you can also get American alligators, finally. And these things, this is a bargain. I mean, just for the meat, I think this would be a good deal. They're pretty tasty. American alligator Mississippiensis, captive bred, $149.99. So I don't know whether that shipped or not, but who cares? I mean, that's a screaming deal. So when I was a kid, you couldn't just go out and buy your own alligator. You had to drive to the Everglades in the middle of the night and catch one. I'm not suggesting that you want an alligator or a cobra, but what I'm saying is there's a lot of neat stuff out there that you can get. And you know, right now I'm sitting in the middle of a bunch of it because I have so many weird interests. Weird tools, all sorts of firearms related things. Well, I don't know. You've seen the internet. I don't have to tell you. And the third thing that's neat about this particular time, and it's almost a shame that we're not going to be around for this anymore, is that now you can get anywhere without asking directions. Doesn't matter where it is. My dad died from dementia last year. And one of the jobs that I had to do over the last 5 years was I had to go through junk that he had amassed and throw stuff out. And one of the stuff that I threw out, and I felt kind of sad doing this, was my parents' folder full of maps. And maybe your parents had one too. And this was stuff, you know, Rand McNally's Eastern United States, Rand McNally's Florida, Rand McNally's Kentucky or North Carolina. And you get these things at gas stations. In the old days, you would go inside gas stations to pay, which you can do now too, but not as much. They didn't have the things on the machines. And you actually had people that would come out and pump your gas, which is pretty cool. I mean, everybody, not just, you didn't have to be in a wheelchair. Everybody, they did this for everybody. And you would go inside, and I don't know if they still have these or not, but they would have maps on, like usually on top of the cigarette vending machine that a 12-year-old could operate without supervision. So everybody had to have maps. And one of the horrible jobs when you were going from one place to another was you would have to sit down and you would have to trace out the route. And they'd have little numbers beside the roads, and it would say like 9 and 6 and 15. And those numbers meant this is how long this stretch is. So instead of going to Google and punching in 2 addresses and having it say 1,342 miles, you would have to add those little things up. And you would kind of have to guess how long it would take you to get there. Well, now you go to Google, you go to Waze, you know, whatever it is you got, and you can just instantly know how to get anywhere. So this is a dream for men, because there's nothing worse than asking directions. There's nothing quite as emasculating. Well, there are, you know, yoga. Yoga's more emasculating, but it's just a really neat thing that we can do this now. And because you have the internet and you get all kinds of crazy information, you can do things like, if you're a stalker, let's say you want to stalk Keanu Reeves. I decided to look this up, and I'm not interested in stalking Keanu Reeves, so there's no point in sending the law after me. But so let's say you are. Well, ask a couple of questions, look around. Keanu Reeves lives at 9024, I will say blank Avenue, West Hollywood, California. There's no, I should just tell you the name of the street because it's already on the internet. You can't dox somebody by telling other people stuff they already know. But anyway, that's where he lives. And it's 2,450 miles from my front door. And it will take me 36 hours to get there. So I can tell him how wonderful I thought The Matrix was and how I really understood the secret meaning of it. And I want to be on the mothership with him or whatever before they, get out the water cannon and give me the Rambo treatment. You can get anywhere without directions, and that's really neat. Another neat thing, and you're kind of looking at it right now, is if you have a telephone, this is the fourth thing, if you have a telephone, you can be a TV star. And this started out really with blogging. They call people who make YouTube videos vloggers, and blog comes from weblog, and it's a log. It's a place where you make log entries, except it's on the web. Well, back in the 90s, there were like 4 websites. So anyone who put anything on the internet was instantly a star. And there's a lot of bad political websites and humor websites that are gone now and stuff like that. Weren't very good, but because they got there first, those people automatically made a living. A lot of them got rich. So you didn't have to go through a publisher. You didn't have to go and beg you didn't have to go down to the local newspaper and beg and try to get them to print things. I used to write stuff for the Miami Herald and stuff like that. You don't have to do that anymore. You don't have to get rejection slips. You just go to Blogger. Do they still call it Blogger? Blogspot. And you just set up a website. Bang, you're on the internet. And similarly, you can go to YouTube and you can be on the internet and watch yourself on TV, and you can send your pictures, your videos to your friends, and potentially millions of people might watch you if you can get past the corporate YouTubers. Corporate blogs killed blogging, and corporate YouTubers are kind of doing the same thing to YouTube. But anyway, you can still do it. I mean, you could conceivably get a zillion trillion hits on something. Like there's the guy that did the prophecy video recently. His name is Coverstone, about the apocalypse. He got something like 1.6 million hits last time I looked, and he apparently has like a nothing website. So as long as you can come up with something people want to watch and they find out about it and YouTube doesn't bury it because it's related to something they don't like, you can be a TV star right now, and that was something that was really pretty tough to do in the 90s. You can get, number 5 is you can get the answer to any question you want. Doesn't matter what the question is. I mean, it does a little bit. I tried to find out William Shatner's shoe size, and it turns out that's not available. Incidentally, I think they lie about his height. They say he's 5'9". I think they're being nice. I love William Shatner. I think he's hilarious. I suspect he may be immortal. It's weird. Leonard Nimoy played the one who was supposed to live 250 years, and he's been gone forever. Of course, he smoked, 5 packs a day. Anyway, I couldn't find out William Shatner's shoe size, but you can find things out like who played Mr. Whipple in the old Charmin commercials. And if you don't know what that is, well, you can find out what the Charmin commercials are. You can probably find them on YouTube. I guarantee they're on YouTube. Type in Charmin, and Mr. Whipple will pop up, and you'll see Adam Savage playing the guy, the lonely pre-incel who can't resist squeezing the Charmin. It turns out the guy who played Mr. Whipple was Dick Wilson, and he was a Canadian, and he was born in 1916, and he died in some year that I didn't write down. So that's really interesting to me. Another thing that's kind of interesting is number 6, we have Velcro. And that's a world-changing invention. It's amazing the stuff you can do with Velcro. The first time I saw Velcro would have been like 1972 or 73. My dad bought this thing, a weight loss belt, and what it was a vinyl belt that's supposed to look like leather with pockets in it. It's kind of like a dive belt. There's dive belts that are like this. It had pockets in it, and the pockets were full of lead. So the idea was you put this thing around your waist, and I guess it weighed 20 pounds, and you burn so much energy just moving yourself around that you lose weight. And of course it didn't work, but I thought it was neat because we had a pool, and I would go in the pool with it because I like to hang around underwater, which may explain some of the cognitive things that are going on now. But it had Velcro on it. You could fasten it around your waist with Velcro, and it was still too big for me because it was made for really fat people when I was a kid. But still, it was neat. It was neat. The first Velcro I saw, and now Velcro's on everything. I think if Velcro had been around thousands of years ago, the shoelace would never, nobody would have bothered with the shoelace. We wouldn't know what it is because it's so inferior to Velcro. And it's used for all kinds of heavy duty things. I mean, it's not just for little things, like, you know, closing a pocket on cargo pants or whatever. I used to have, my dad had a big boat, and it had a diesel generator, and the generator had a big fiberglass cover around it, and the front of the cover was held on with Velcro, and it worked perfectly. That was really neat. So anyway, Velcro is just magnificent, and it's too bad we couldn't have had it 200 or 300 years ago, so we would have had more time to enjoy it. Let's see, what else is going on? Yeah, I guess that's all I got. That's all I felt like writing down. So, I don't know. I mean, if we had to go back when we were still cranking our cars and walking 100 yards to a filthy outhouse in February instead of going to a flush toilet, I think it would be easier to leave. But on the other hand, if you think about it, the technology that we have is kind of the reason for the rapture, because one of the reasons for the rapture is we're losing our free will due to technology. We're under constant surveillance, and when you're under surveillance, it has a tremendous coercive influence on you, and you always try to do, if not what's right, what you think other people think is right. So when you lose, when life becomes too oppressive, when there's too much coercion, there's no free will, and without free will, there's no point in keeping this experiment going, this project that God has done, the creation of the world, because we're down here to choose His way or to choose the wrong way, and we have to be able to choose. We have to be able to choose between right and wrong, and if we're just forced to do what's right, it doesn't count. This is something leftists don't understand about socialism. They always say, oh, Jesus would have been a socialist, which is totally untrue. There's zero socialism in the Bible. There's a place where it says early Christians got together and passed around what they had. That's not socialism. That's generosity. Socialism is when the government makes you do that. There's nothing generous about socialism. And one of the proofs of that is that the people who vote for socialism are almost always the people who are going to get the stuff that's taken away from the other people. That's not unselfish. That's very selfish, not to mention envious. So technology is taking away our free will, and it's given us probably more power than God wants us to have, and I think that's one of the indicators that the rapture really is coming soon. I will say that I've enjoyed technology a great deal. I'm enjoying it now. There's things, you know what, I forgot to mention one of the things on my list, didn't I? I did, because one of the things I was going to mention is that you can learn to do anything you want to learn almost. And the internet is one of the great ways to do that. If you can find a website, you can find MIT courses on YouTube. You can find India has this gigantic thing, because Indians are poor and a lot of them don't even have electricity, but they want to do well. They want to learn. So they've got this project over there where the nation's universities are putting everything they got on YouTube, and you can just suck this stuff in and essentially become an engineer or a physicist or some kind of scientist just by watching videos. You can learn things free of charge. Sometimes you're not going to get the best training if you do it free of charge, but if that's not good enough for you, well, you can find things that you can pay for. You can find good instruction that you pay for. And like 3 weeks ago, I went up to the Panhandle in Florida. I wanted to learn how to shoot better, so I located a relatively convenient class for people who want to learn how to shoot scoped rifles. And the first thing you know, I was being taught by two snipers who had served in the military and presumably shot a bunch of people. And I've talked about this before. So you couldn't do that kind of thing in 1970. You couldn't go around saying, I would like to learn long-range shooting from a couple of snipers. They would have held you for questioning. You would have gotten nowhere with that. Maybe if you joined the military, you might have gotten lucky, but you probably would have ended up emptying garbage cans or something. My understanding is when you go in the military, you don't really get to do what you want to do. So it's a lot of fun fooling around on the internet and with other types of technology, and you can do a lot of things that are interesting. And you can waste a lot of time too. One of the things that I think wasted time on since coronavirus popped up is I bought a lot. I've become the king of disinfectants. Personally, I don't expect to get coronavirus. I think I already had it. And I don't really care that much about it because I think the rapture's coming very soon, and I'm not really anxious to be 80 years old and have no teeth and not be able to use the toilet and live in a world that's much worse even than it is now in terms of the social atmosphere, because that's what's happening. Anyway, but something inside me just says, you got to check the stuff out on the internet. You got to see if you can find things like hand sanitizer and so forth, just because you want to beat the system, just because it's fun. And I haven't done too badly. When I started out, I had this. I had a bunch of these because I know people out there, they're drooling now looking at this. My dad had dementia and I was taking care of him, so I used to buy a lot of these things. And I still got a number of these things I haven't even opened, and this one's mostly full. This stuff has benzalkonium chloride in it, and at first the CDC was saying this stuff's no good, you have to use alcohol. Well, there's a company, and shouldn't be surprising, the source. There's a company that makes benzalkonium chloride, which is the stuff that's in this, and it's the stuff that's in Bactine. And they say that they have had scientists check things out, and they found out that this stuff is actually much better than alcohol for coronavirus, because when you put alcohol in your hands, you have to leave it there for something like 2 minutes or 5 minutes, some ridiculous amount of time, which you don't do, and neither do I, because you can't. You can't just stand around with your hands in the air every time you use Germ-X or what's that other one, Purell. So that stuff's really not that great. A lot of these things that people are putting on themselves or trying to get a hold of so they can put on themselves, they take a long time to work. And this stuff supposedly 5 seconds, 10 seconds. And all this time it was sitting right under our noses. Well, I started thinking about this, and I started thinking this must be in other products. And of course, it turns out Bactine is made from this stuff plus an anesthetic. So if you keep Bactine in your car, or fake Bactine, like, generic Bactine from like CVS, you can spray yourself down with it when you get in and out of the car. Well, not out, that would be pointless. But you can spray yourself with it when you get in the car after you've been mingling with the filthy populace, and supposedly do a great job of disinfecting yourself. Anyway, I had this stuff and I knew about this chemical, and I found 2 items which are really pretty good. One is this stuff. It's called Baby Ganix. Stupid name. It has a terrifying teddy bear on the front of it. The stuff with nightmares. Anyway, this stuff is made with BZK. It's not made without, I don't know why they call it BZK, because there's no Z and there's no K. I mean, there's a Z in there, but it's not like you can divide benzalkonium chloride up. They should call it BC, right? Benzalkonium chloride. But they call it BZK. This stuff's made with BZK. And I got this stuff on Amazon. I got 3 of these things for like 18 bucks. I didn't need them. I just thought it was like a hobby for me. I just thought it's so cool to have disinfectants that other people haven't thought of yet. So I got myself 3 of these. And I got something even weirder. It's tough to find the towels I just showed you, the Clorox wipes. Well, what about these? Can you read that? Obstetrical towelettes, and you can guess where those go. I mean, I have to admit, I'm guessing. I assume when you go to the obstetrician, they don't use these on your forehead. Well, these are covered with benzalkonium chloride, and you get 100 to a box. They're 5 inches by 7 inches. They're not too wet, but they're wet enough. And these were under $5, I think, for a package from Amazon. You get them in 2 days, and I got 2 packages. So I don't need them. I don't know why I did it. It just seemed neat to me. So now I've got these. And it's a conversation piece. If you're a single man, this is a real conversation piece. That's another great thing about it. So I've got a couple other things. Back when things started, you couldn't get this. You couldn't get isopropyl alcohol because people started, I guess they were drinking it. I'm not sure. People did some dumb things. They're still doing dumb things. Bleach, people couldn't get bleach. And it turned out one of the reasons for that was that people were putting their groceries in the sink and they were bleaching their groceries. And then they had to go to the hospital, which was full of viruses, because they were sick from eating bleach and drinking bleach. So anyway, I don't know what they did with this stuff, but it disappeared. And I've talked about this before in a different video. I said, well, that's not going to stop me. I'll just get this, which is sold in hardware stores, and it's essentially the same thing. And I read up on it, and then I found out, wait, it's not exactly the same thing, because this has, denatured means poisoned. That's really what it means. If you didn't put something in this alcohol, to make it poisonous, alcoholics will go to Home Depot and load up. And then our country doesn't care about alcoholics. They don't care about addicts. But they lose a lot of tax money because drinkable alcohol is taxed heavily. So I found out some of this stuff has methanol in it, which is wood alcohol. And I read that methanol can be bad if you get it on your skin. And I started going, boy, that's a big deal. And then I read more and more. And it looks like that's kind of a snowflake thing. It looks like if you're the kind of person who thinks he's allergic to cell phone radiation, then you'll probably be bothered by the methanol in denatured alcohol. But if you're a normal person, you pretty much have to sit in a bucket of it for a day to get poisoned. You know, I'm not giving you medical advice. I'm just giving you what I concluded, perhaps wrongly. But anyway, I had that stuff because I do, you know, bad woodworking, and it's good stuff to have around for cleaning things. And because I was taking care of my dad who had dementia, there was always a lot of filth to be dealt with, and this was great for cleaning counters. You put it in a spray bottle and blast them, cleaning off doorknobs, you know. So that was a neat thing that I had, and got around the coronavirus craziness with that. And then, but then things finally loosened up, and I started seeing things like this. I went to Lowe's one day, and I saw this stuff, and it's just hand sanitizer, but it's swishy. It's not a gel. And it was just sitting there on the shelf. There was like 20 of them. And I looked at it and I thought, what is that doing here? You can't have hand sanitizer in a store. That's insane. So I bought it just because I just wanted to have the feeling that I got something that was hard to get, you know? And I don't know what to think of this stuff. I'm going to be honest with you. It smells like moonshine. That's really what it smells like. And I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I don't really like it, but I thought it was neat. It was an impulse buy, and I just thought it was a neat thing to get. And Lowe's did me another big favor. The other day I was goofing around the internet because at first I just can't stop doing this. And I found this. And let's see, this stuff, yeah, that's a gel. The bubbles don't move. This stuff is the Lowe's, like they have HDX, that cheap, awful brand of stuff at Home Depot. Apparently Moxie is the HDX of Lowe's. And I saw this online, and this is what, 32? Yeah, this is over a quart. This is almost half a liter. And I mean, it's almost a liter. And it's alcohol, it's, you know, so it's inferior to BZK, but still, you're not supposed to be able to get this stuff. And I got this like a month ago, and I just said to myself, I'm never going to be without hand sanitizer again, even if it doesn't work, just because I just want to thumb my nose at fate, at the system. So something to think about. Look it up, see what you think. BZK may actually be a good option if you got kids and you're worried, if you're older, if you're diabetic or whatever. You might want to look into it. You're going to have a tough time getting Clorox wipes and stuff like that. But these obstetric things, they're all over the place. And you can actually buy BZK. You can buy a little bottle of I think it's 50% pure BZK for $80. And you can just make your own wipes. So it's pretty interesting. The concentration in the stuff that's the fluid that comes with disinfectant wipes, it's like 0.13% BZK. So if you have a calculator, you ought to be able to figure out how to make your own BZK solution, I would think. Anyway, if that doesn't work out, you can always break in my house and take what I got, because I'm bathing in it. Anyhow, I guess maybe I shouldn't talk so lightheartedly about the rapture, because it's a real thing. It's a real thing, and everything is going completely nuts now. And people are starting to acknowledge it. They're starting to speak openly, saying the world is crazy now. Things have changed. People are using the term apocalypse, and they're not really joking anymore. So it's a really interesting time to be alive. And as I said, I keep feeling like God is telling me I'm not going to be here in 2021. And I don't want to sound morose, but that would be phenomenal, because Christians don't belong in the world to begin with. And the closer you get to God, the more out of place you'll feel here. It's a weird thing, because you'll enjoy life more. Life will be more fulfilling and peaceful and all that. And at the same time, you'll really want to go someplace else. You'll really want to be someplace else. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. The next thing I plan to put up on YouTube, I plan to put up more stuff about my shooting platform that I made, my prone shooting platform. I stuck it on the tractor, I finished it off, put the roof on it, and I took it out in the pasture and set it down, and the cattle were not amused by that, not one bit. It worked out really well. The cattle haven't slobbered on it. They don't seem very interested in it. And I don't know, I shot a few rounds and enjoyed myself, and I'm almost ready to take the Ruger precision rifle out there and see what I can do with it. Although the handguard has burrs on it, and I've got this email into Ruger trying to find out if that's normal. I can't believe that it is. So, excuse me. That's what I hope to talk about next time. Maybe be a little less long-winded and boring. But as I've said, I make videos for myself, not for you. So if you're bored, don't subscribe and don't pay me any money. I don't have a Patreon account, and I don't have ads. If I do, I don't know about it. YouTube's just, sticking it to me. But I don't think that's happening. I think I would notice if I had ads. So that's it. Try to get ready for the Rapture, and if you need BZK, if you need to be disinfected, you can still do it. You can still make an end run around the panic people and get good stuff if you just know where to look. So I hope you'll be encouraged and maybe even slightly entertained. See you next time.